This week I'm going to answer a question from a viewer, and even more than a viewer, someone who's gotten one of my courses. And he asked me about good items for countermeasures. Hi, Larry K, ShadowAnyone.com, and the creator of the Investigator's Ultimate Guide series, premium private investigator training from someone who's been there and done that. And specifically, he asked me about items for countermeasures. Now, this is a kind of a broad, open question, and I did email him back and kind of asked him a little bit, because countermeasures is a huge area, and in fact, it could be a training course in and of itself. But there are countermeasures for surveillance, for physical surveillance, somebody following you. There are countermeasures for electronics surveillance, bugs, hidden cameras, that kind of thing. There are countermeasures for just simply not being found. If you are worried about stalkers or people bothering you or invading your privacy, getting your information, there are countermeasures to those types of things too. Now, the real key thing here is we're really mostly, I don't want you to emphasize, I don't want you to think in terms of items for countermeasures. Oh, if I had this frequency sweeping device, then I would know if there are bugs in my office. If I had this particular piece of equipment, then physical surveillance would be more difficult on me, or that type of thing. There are items out there that you can use for countermeasures. However, and here's the big catch, if you don't understand the hunting side of it, if you don't understand how to do the investigation, those items, you're going to use them wrong, you're going to use them ineffectively, and it's going to give you a false sense of security. The key thing for countermeasures is when you know the investigative side of it so well, really well, that you understand the tactics and tricks that people use, investigators even use, we use these things, then you can begin to take countermeasures in order to prevent them from using those things. And I talk about these in well, any of my training materials. When you learn, hey, here's a source of information you can try to access to learn more about a person. Well, knowing about that, think, how do you handle that? How do you countermeasure that? Well, you make sure that your information is not available through that source. If your information is already available through that source, maybe you need to change it so that it's not all correct information. Maybe they end up having a bad address on you, something like that. Those are the types of countermeasures that are going to be very effective, and you learn them because you know the investigative side of things. I do teach a little bit, like in my book, 51 Dirty Tricks Bad Guys Really Hate. I teach kind of an anti-stalking trick that I like to use, and it's the type of thing that if somebody is getting in your business, it's going to be one of those things you can do that's going to slow them down, take up their time, take up their money while they try to unravel nonsensical dead ends. But the key element is I teach that out of you and I as investigators knowing, okay, this is something that we would do if we needed to get the dirt, the information on this person. So we know that we do this technique. What's the countermeasure to it? And of course I talk about that in the book. But again, the key element is the better you are as an investigator, the more you know the tricks and tips and techniques for investigating someone, be it following them in physical surveillance, stationary surveillance, digging up information on them, whatever kind of thing it might be, skip tracing, trying to locate them, even process serving. You know, if you want to know, if someone's a bad guy and they want to know the tricks to avoid a process server, the best way to learn that is to learn how a process server, a really good process server, is going to trick them into taking the papers. And then you can live your life in a way that can avoid that. Although it would be a huge pain, just take the papers, go to court, for crying out loud. A process server is going to end up getting you sooner or later. One's going to know a trick that you don't know. But the key element, again, learn the investigative techniques, and then you will know how to counter them. This is Larry K, ShadowAnyone.com. Remember, do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing.